Right, hopefully another quick video on like nutrition as a whole. Um, Training kind of comes into this as well, but because I'm only focused on the nutritional side, that's what we're going to talk about. But I want to talk about like the overall health, the overall impact that nutrition could have on your health. I've kind of stole this from the course that I'm on, MNU, and I'm going to try as much as possible to avoid that because I don't want to get fucking plagiarised or that. But it was a really important slide to me, and I thought it makes so much sense, which I think a lot of people completely. I don't think what's the word I'm trying to look for? What am I trying to say? I think they underappreciate how much nutrition plays a role in their life, and I also think they might sort of step over it without even realising it. So I'll give you a few examples. Well, I'll try and give you a few examples of these as we go. But you have to eat every day. You technically don't have to eat every day, but at some point throughout your day, usually you will eat at some point. And I believe that the sources you pick and will then affect like the rest of your day. Now, when I'm talking about this, I've not got a perfect diet. I've got a 4-year-old, and if you saw like, if you maybe I'll share it one day, but I don't have the perfect diet. This whole 80% thing, I try my best. It's quite difficult. We can make food for our kid, and she looks at it and be like, she won't say this, but she'll be thinking, "Fuck this, I'm wanting something else." Like, and it's a Nutella sandwich, for example. But even though I'm kind of I don't want, even though I might be preaching this, just like I'm not perfect, and but I guess part of the reason why I am trying to help this is because of my kid, because I'm not wanting to fall into the same pitfalls as what a lot of people are these days, and I guess we'll get into that in a minute. But to try and talk about sort of nutritional health as a whole, first thing, like healthy, even though the idea for this whole channel thing would be to make people a little bit healthier, healthy is a subjective term, just like the good and the bad and the cheat foods and all that. It's a subjective term, and it means healthy means something different to everyone, and it also plays multiple parts in your life, even if you don't realise it or not. And that's where I think a lot of people don't realise that they're going through these. They have like a terrible relationship with food and they don't even realise it. So first things first is, if I'm ever talking on this camera to talk about being healthy, just make sure that you're asking yourself, what does healthy mean to me? And we'll go through bits and pieces of that. But as I said, my diet's not perfect, but when I set out like a certain amount of goals, things for me to do on a daily basis, like if I'm losing weight, I know the things that I'm losing weight, even if they're not perfect, even if they don't fit into like the criteria of healthy and being perfect, I still know that 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be a lower weight on average on a weekly basis. And it's the same going when I'm gaining weight. As long as I'm lifting more in the gym, I'm usually happy. But anyway, so on the course that I'm doing, Martin, his name is Martin McDonald, talks about all the different areas of health and how nutrition impacts that. And I think I'll try and remember to mention it anyway, but I think nutrition plays a massive part in how, like, I kind of have mentioned it already, but how it affects your day and then affects your week. Like if you were to improve the way you eat, if you were able to, you pick better foods, that hopefully then would encourage you to go and exercise a little bit more, and then get out of the house a little bit more, stay away from Netflix, because that's all you do at night, for example. You start sleeping better, you start losing a bit of weight. In 60 days you could have a completely different life, and it all would just it would all just be because you started to eat a little bit better. And I think that's the impact that nutrition has. And it's a very easy thing to change, because you have to shop, you have to go out and you have to eat food, whereas trying to exercise better and a little bit more is a bit more difficult because you've got so many distractions. But at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10 you need to go to the shops and buy food. So anyway, physical health. So part of being healthy as a whole is your physical health. Basically try to look better naked, trying to look better for your other half, or trying to fit into a dress and things like that. And I think they're all great, they're great goals, but overall it shouldn't just be when you get to the end of your diet or your goal, there should be a next one. Because chasing goals are really good for humans. Like, it's always good to keep yourself busy, but one of the big ones is physical health, trying to look better. Psychological health, part of the reason why I'm trying to do this as well is for you to make better decisions. So salmon is getting an absolute tanking on this fucking YouTube, and I've got nothing wrong with salmon. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't think I really like the taste. Anyway, making better decisions. If you're trying to lose weight, swapping the salmon out for chicken breast you'll load your calories. Just for example, you have a little bit more. You can have more spinach in your day, because it basically spinach is literally tasteless. You can put in a shake and not even notice it. So a little bit more vegetables here and there. All those little things will then add up to make a big difference. Your social health. Again, I think this is massive as well, because, sorry, I thought someone had dropped. When people start pursuing goals, they think they then can't go out. They can never go out again and go out drinking and stuff, and you can. And I did this when I was with my coach. He basically says to me, go out if you want, but it was so fucking weird. Like, I felt like I couldn't. And then for 18 months, I never saw my mates, pretty much. And to the point where sometimes I would turn up and be like, what the fuck is he doing here? They still act like that. But anyway, you sometimes have to go to the places to then realise what a bit of an arse you're being, to then step back, and you've then learnt from that experience. But anyway, like I said, I'm not perfect, and I think a lot of people do that. They then obsess with going to the gym, and then they go out for food, and they're like, oh my god, what's in these calories? And life shouldn't be about that. You should still be able to go out and enjoy. Part of being a human is going out and enjoying yourself with other people and your family and your friends. And if you're a fucking idiot on a carnivore diet, right, and you go to your mum and dad's, and they say, right, I'm making spaghetti bolognese your favourite, you grew up with that, and you'd be like, no, I'm alright, thanks. Can you just make the beef? My mum would slap me in the face. Or another example of this is like, if you're so stringent on your diet, and again, you follow something like a carnivore diet's getting an absolute pasting here as well, but imagine your kid was having a birthday, and you'll eat carnivore diet, and your kid comes up, blows out the candles, cuts the cake and says, here's a bit, Dad, you eat it, and you're like, nah, no thank you. How much of a bellend do you look? So that little bit of cake will not kill you, and the bond that you should have with your kid, or hopefully have with your kid, completely trumps any diet. But again, there's some people like that. As I've said before, there's people that transport cooked meals to fucking weddings to eat, rather than having the 3-course meal that the bride and groom have paid for. But anyway, the emotional side of your health, your relationship with food, also a big one. Is, you should never think be scared of something, or I can't eat that. The only reason that you shouldn't be eating something is if you're allergic to it or you hate it. You shouldn't be like, oh, if I eat this is going to make me fat. Like, it's just not true. A calorie surplus will make you fat. Another thing as well with the emotional side is massive is realistic goals. So if you want to lose 10 kilos and you give yourself 12 weeks to do it, after those 12 weeks, you've only lost 8, you get pissed off because you never lost 2 kilos. But why not turn around and look and say, holy fuck, I've lost 8 kilos. Like, some people can be so harsh on themselves when they just need to turn around and look at where they've came from. But you just like realistic goals is, I believe, is massive as well. And if you have this goal of, I want to lose 20 kilos in however long, like 16 weeks, if that's possible or no, depends on your commitment. But a good rule I've always learned, it was say James Smith, and he was like, "Man, just what about why not lose 1 kilo 20 times rather than losing 20 kilos one time?" And it makes absolute sense. Economic health. I don't know if I wrote this down right or if I took note of it, but I believe it's to do with the cost. So not everybody can afford wild fucking caught salmon, or the organic beef and all that stuff. And you don't need to. If you buy yourself a slow cooker and you buy just some veg, a sauce, and meat, throw that in there. You'll have a better meal than most people out there. I guarantee it. It's especially if you start portioning out and things like that. You can have a very good diet for an extremely cheap price. But the thing when it comes to eating food going out shopping is the reduced Pringles and the club card section always looks a bit better than having a chicken curry or whatever that night. You know what I mean? Like it's supermarkets make it really difficult for yourself to buy the foods that you want. But if you started buying less of the shit, you would save that money to then put to the good stuff. But the cost stuff and that, I'd imagine I'll be speaking about that later. And the last one is the intellectual health of it. So the empowerment of being able to make the decisions for yourselves and the choices. And this is kind of one of the reasons. Another one of the reasons is to start doing this, is to try and help you realise that you can make the choices for yourself. You would definitely get there quicker if you had a coach, but I'm a bit like a lot of people where I'd like to learn it for myself, and that takes longer, but I think it's a lot better in my head for the journey because you learn the mistakes by yourself. But there's absolutely no reason having somebody in your corner. And I'm getting a bit like that with the business stuff. I'd be like, or this YouTube stuff, I'd be like, oh, I'd love to do this all by myself, but I would definitely get there quicker with a coach. And I think all of that stuff, you could probably add another few things into here about health, but this should cover the majority of it. But another reason to try and to try and improve people's health with nutrition is you're massively influential to other people. So even kids, like if you're sitting in your house every night watching TV and no moving, and you're eating shit, your kid is definitely taking note of that. And I'm not the perfect parent. I'm not trying to say, well, you should be doing this with your kids or that. But if you start eating well in your house, then it's likely to then feed into the rest of your family, if you have one. That's not a dig, obviously, but if you're going out for pints every weekend, your kid will then catch on to that, and you know what I mean. I'm talking a lot about kids, but I think if you're trying to create like a healthier society, I'm not going to be the person that changes this fucking life, by the way, but if you're going to try and create a sort of healthier generation, then it technically starts with you, because the influence you could have on your the people that you work with your family, your like immediate family and your external family, shit like that. I think people massively underestimate that. So I feel like I've created like a motivational speech, which I'm just trying to say if you change your life, you could change somebody else's. Again, that sounds like a motivational speech. I'm not, but anyway, I think we're done there. Last point, actually, sorry, you balance all of the above that we just spoke about, it'll be a healthier life. It really upsets me when I hear about people who yo-yo diet all the time, and they've spent literal years going to Weight Watchers, they come off it, they gain weight, they go back to Weight Watchers, and they stop losing weight, and then they're like, well, dieting doesn't work for me, I'm broken. That stuff really fucks me off, because they are selling anyway, it's just because the thing that they've bought isn't actually up to scratch, or they're not actually learning from it, basically. Hopefully that's where I come in. And what else fucked me off because I was going to think about it. I also think with the sort of social side, see if you're sitting in, you'll talk about, you'll be in a social circle and you'll say, well, I'm eating this and blah, 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 I'm training for this, and then somebody will put, oh, yeah, I'm eating well as well, as they sink 3 fucking cocktails and then they have like a burger and chips for their dinner. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a lot of people who think that they need to announce that they're eating healthy, but then do absolute fuck all about it, which is, again, I think sad. I think that's not very healthy. You can sort of tell that people aren't in a good mindset when they're doing stuff like that. They're saying that they're eating healthy when they're not, but I don't know if I got my point across. Hopefully I did. This is what a lot of these videos are going to be like, that, me just rambling, but hopefully it's helped, and I'll see you in the next video, which I can't remember what one it is, but anyway, thank you all.